We are now live. Yes. Hello. I think we're right, aren't we? Because because bizarrely today I'm the person in charge of technology, which is dangerous. No, so Elaine, you have to introduce what's going on.
So I just want to say welcome back to the Reality NSFW. This is the Circle Chat. I'm Elaine Stott from season 39 of Survivor, and as always, my co-host and partner in crime, Tim Wilson. And today we have Jan Jones, aka the Blue Egg. So she's with us today, and we go talk everything Circle. Well, probably parts everything Circle, and the rest of it we're just going to ramble on.
So Jan, were you Blue Egg or Red Egg? I thought you were Red Egg.
Blue Egg.
I was blue.
You were blue. How could you possibly be such a gorgeous red head and not be a red egg? I don't understand this.
I think it was all because of Andrea being like the hot Italian stallion.
Hot red.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, I would. You know, I'm just saying that I did think that he could have been brought back and just lived with me there, Elaine. I didn't think there was a problem with that.
Yeah, but your personality won out. You beat hotness all day long. So he went home and you got to stay. So that was pretty cool.
Well, I don't take when I haven't got great pecs, and and I'm not ripped. So he had the edge on that one, Elaine. You know,
right. Well, I'm a firm believer that personality goes a long way because, like Tim, I got a huge personality, so it's like I'll go with that every time.
Yeah,
there we are.
Well, they say that a pretty face fades, but a personality stays.
That's
true.
Know.
I wish I could apply that in my choice of men.
Some of us are here.
Tim, I'm weak.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, look, we've got to talk a little bit about season 3. So we're now a few more days advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My insides are literally crawling with indignation and shock.
Go on.
But we'll get into all this. But I've got to start by saying that tonight was going to be a little bit more exciting than it is already, because we were expecting to have a 4th person here, and we're not allowed to because of the rules. And I have to explain this. I'm not going to say who the 4th person was going to be, but it was going to be somebody from season 3. And we were told by the production company that that because this person is still featured in the show, this person cannot be part of our podcast.
Yeah.
Why? I pointed out that people from the celebrity circle had been podcasting and broadcasting on British television during their season while they were in the circle, because we know it was all filmed in advance in September. And it seems to me that there is one rule for people with agents and with representation, the celebrities, and there's quite another rule for people who have no representation, the civilian circle, who are in there for much longer.
Yeah,
they're expected just to keep quiet, sit still, and wait to be paid.
Well, do you think it has to do with the fact that celebrities they have done movies and they don't give things, you know what I mean, like they're kind of used to doing interviews and stuff and not spoiling, and maybe they're afraid.
Exactly, but the whole point about this relationship between production and cast is that there has to be this principle of trust. If that principle of trust doesn't exist, then we as performers on television are simply lab rats.
Right.
We're animals. In my, I was talking the other day about the thought that I thought this is not a game. This is a magic trick. I mean, there's always the tendency to say, oh, this is a game show. It's not a game show. It's reality TV, and we've got to define what that is. And eventually we'll get round to defining it properly. But if it's so we've got this idea. What are you? If you're in a magic show, then I see myself as one of the performers in the circle, as a sort of inflated version of the magician's assistant. I am like Debbie McGee with a beard. But
I can see you in a leotard.
You should wait. You should wait. But actually, a leotard where, on my legs or on my head?
But, your body.
Stop. No, but you see, the thing is, we could think, oh yeah, we're in a magic show, but if we're not going to be trusted, if we're going to be treated like an animal, we're not even in a magic show, we're in a dog act. And I am being treated, in which case, a bit like a poodle. I simply will not be treated like a poodle. I've known poodles.
I don't want to be a cockapoo. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to be a cockapoo.
Or a lurcher.
Can I be a Labrador? I love Labradors.
Yes, let's all be good, obedient Labradors, and we could go and fetch.
Yeah.
I'm very good at fetching.
So I feel like the analogy is that we rang the doorbell and to get this individual to come and join us. We rang the doorbell. We're like kids there, and we go, "Can come out to play tonight?" And they say, "No, he's going to bed in a minute. You know, he's just had his dinner."
Yes.
That's how I feel.
Oh, you know, it's so sad. It's so sad.
You know, we could have had a good time. We could have had a good time. We got us three.
We have us three, a little trinity of naughty people.
A menage a trois. Oh.
You know, I'm a lesbian, so you're speaking my language, though.
There we are.
I'm not even going down that road, but you know, I don't run away from that side of my sexuality. Elaine,
I hear you.
You get me?
Yeah, Tim, I get what you're saying. I think that if you're going to allow celebrities to do press and talk about a game that they're in, then you should allow the civilians to do so as well.
Absolutely.
And you sign contracts when you go in. So if you speak out of turn, there's going to be reprimand for it. So I don't see what the big deal is myself. They do the same thing on Survivor. You know, when you go on the show and when it airs, like whenever we would have viewing parties and stuff, like every time, you know, an episode would come on and stuff. And we were actually told we wasn't allowed to. But, you know, I'm from a small town in Kentucky, so I would do little small viewing parties with family and friends and stuff. But they didn't want us to do that. And I didn't really understand why. And I really didn't question it at the time. But the more I talk to you, you know what I mean? And the more I get educated on things, which is how life is, you get education and then you open your mind up and you start seeing things in a different light. So it's kind of interesting that it goes.
I think a lot of this is about control, and when you look at these programs, both Survivor and The Circle, and I think the most heinous of the lot, which is Big Brother. Though I barely put my toe in the water of Big Brother. I have some friends from the British Big Brother households who I've been speaking to, but really I think that's probably the most exploitative program in the reality TV genre. But it's about control. And so if you've got a production company that is throwing control around the place, at what point does that production company stop controlling the people that it's controlling? It's terribly difficult. You know, so as a parent, or even as a teacher in my case, it's very difficult to stop doing your job.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to stop teaching. It's very difficult to stop parenting. And I think part of the problem with teenagers is sort of, they want their own identity, and yet you still want to treat them in the same way that you treated them when they were 7. And it's very hard to back off.
Right.
And production companies, you know, I have a lot of sympathy for production companies, because in order to make these shows work, they actually have to exert enormous control, and we, as the puppies, we need to throw ourselves into their loving embrace, into their arms, and trust them, because they actually know what they're doing, because they have the script, they have the plan. Even if we modify it a little bit because of our personality, our warmth, our gigantic sort of oozing of spirit. Even if we modify their plans, we're not going to modify them that much. And it's great if we do, because we're going to bring a new head to this sort of pitching idea. But in the end, we have to trust production. And the more we trust production, the better our product is going to be. But as a result, when you come out, you still trust production, and production then I feel does the dirty on you. And in my case, I would describe this rather like a love affair gone sour. You love production, and then it knifes you in the back, and you feel, oh, what did I do wrong? I love you people. And now you're treating me so badly. Why? Because you know how I think. Because you've lived with me 24 hours a day for a month. And in the case of Survivor, you've seen me starving, and you've been nibbling on your pork sausage, and so to speak. And if you can do,
He's so naughty, Elaine.
I know.
He's so
I know.
naughty.
That's why we love him. That was a butcher's image. So right. So let's get down to business, because there's some really good ideas which cropped up in the last 2 days. The most important one that I thought was Tally bringing up the whole concept of ADHD.
Yeah. That was that all that stuff. Whenever they start talking about personal stuff, like, it really gets me right here. Like, I'm a super sensitive individual, and I always I'm drawn to people like that. So when she was sharing, I really felt for her, and same thing with Vipin. When he was sharing, I felt for him too. Like,
isn't Vipin absolutely lovely? And what I love about so many of the cast this year is you get glimpses of their vulnerability, and it's so to me, knowing how production works, I just sort of see it, and yet I don't see it being sort of developed. What I see being developed is this nasty plotting about let's have another twist.
Yeah.
And the real characters, these incredibly beautiful people.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think it's the best cast that the Circle has had out in the UK. But I think globally it's the best cast, and I think they've misused them. I think these incredibly talented people have just been sort of submerged under this caterpillar machine that is determined to throw out as much nastiness as it possibly can. It's like it is literally throwing good people under a bus.
No, darling, I was looking at a lot of the comments that are coming out on, sort of group chats within Facebook and on Instagram. And there seems to be this, sorry, somebody's just delivering my 60th birthday at the door. Bear with me. Sorry.
She's like, I got to go get that present. Got to know what it is.
I don't know what it is, Elaine, but it's from my sister.
But your birthday isn't yet, is it?
No, I said to my sister, I won't open it till next Tuesday. That's my 60th birthday.
Next Tuesday. There we are. You see, because I'm doing all this in about a month's time.
I know.
Is it a month? Maybe 2 months.
2 months, because you're in May, aren't you?
I'm in May. Elaine, you don't get anywhere near this, do you?
I'm 43. I'm pretty close. I don't care. I don't care.
You can reverse that, and it's going to sound even better.
Sorry, where was I before I got? I got somebody sending me. Oh, it's people. No, what? Oh, crazy. No, what it is that it's the concept, isn't it? It's like everyone has a perception. Everybody outside in the big wide world has a perception, and I'm reading things that they're saying things already about individuals, and I'm not going to home in on anybody, because I've been talking to a few of them, and I just think that they're okay people. But I think that the public, it's like one minute you feel like they want blood, they want to see this blood on the walls, and the next minute you've got this wave of condemnation because they're saying, oh, this is like, it's turning into Big Brother. it's, you know, it's this twist and it's this and it's cruel, you know, orange tally, blue tally. You know, now you've got Gemma or James having to be like the assassin.
Yeah.
And, you know, then they're saying that they're getting away from the original concept. Now, I did the pilot. I did the pilot for the show about 2.5, 3 years ago. And the whole thing, and the reason I did it was because it struck a chord with me. I've got a daughter. My daughter's now 20. There are times, at the time they were talking about you never know who you're talking to online. And I know that she was on one of these little group things as a kid. And apparently there was an individual, a rather untaste, you know, nasty individual, kept coming in and was threatening individuals. And these were kids.
Right.
Now, we were monitoring what she was doing. So this wasn't, you know, didn't just stick her in a room and say, get on there and talk to everybody. But the thing about the circle, when I did the pilot, it was very free flow. You could just talk, you know, once they opened circle chat, you could talk to whoever,
as it should,
and you could talk as normal, as I'm talking to you now. And it was dictated and it would come out. Obviously, when you go onto the main program, it's structured. It has to be, because you've got X amount of people and you have to structure and schedule in individuals to talk. And I see that they've got more group chats. They seem to have more private chats. I've never known so many. I don't know about you, Tim, but I've never seen so many chats. I don't remember that many chats.
No, the last program, the last episode, huge number of chats. And I remember when I was in there, I don't think I had a single day where I had more than 2 private chats. I think on 1 or 2 days I got a group chat as well. But you know, we were incredibly limited with how many people we could actually arrange to talk to in any one day. And then,
like I said to you, as I said to you before, Tim, I couldn't speak to Georgina. I wasn't allowed to speak to Georgina or Paddy, so I couldn't. If the aim of the game is to curry favour and to become the most popular person within the circle, and you don't speak to 2 of those people, like one-on-one, so you can't make a bond, how on earth was I ever going to win? I mean, I was the last person in, so I knew the minute I went in there, I was like fodder. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, I'm on the B list. You know what I mean? You know, when you've got a party and you've got the A list and the B list, and the B listers, you think, oh, well, she can't come, so I'll get the other one in.
Yeah. Well, I'm down at Z. I'm on the Z list. That'd be me.
Oh, I'm with you there, Elaine. With you there.
Oh, you're lovely.
But I think, Jan, if you can't speak to 2 people, you're going to be blocked almost immediately. You're not going to get up to the top of the ratings. You're going to be down at the bottom of the ratings. And you know, if you have that conversation as an instigator,
influencer.
You know, I can't do this word. If you have the name, I'll do it for the rest of the program now. I'm okay. I'm on a roll. If you have that conversation in the influencer thing and you get into trouble, you'll end up saying, well, let's go with the rankings. And there would Jan be at the bottom because she didn't get votes from Paddy and Georgina, because how could she?
Yeah, it's a huge disadvantage. It really is. Which that's what I said. That's what I said. I said I didn't understand why you guys didn't talk to everybody, but I didn't understand how it was actually played in-house. You know, I just see what I see on TV. I didn't understand why you didn't talk to everybody. I didn't know it was so structured where you couldn't, you know. So that's
unfortunately, you know, you've got people who go in right at the beginning, and you know, I'm listening to Tally saying, no, we don't want any more people in here. We're all, you know, there's enough of us. And then you're listening to Natalia talking as Felix saying, oh, you know, they've created these bonds. They're very cliquey, you know, and what was going to happen to me? I went right in at the end. You know, it was like I came in with the cat.
And you didn't know that the cat came in at the beginning.
Yeah, a cat was there first.
I know, but you know, this is what's so funny is the fact that, you know, you'd have to be an idiot to go right at the end, Elaine, and be sitting there going, oh yeah, I'm sitting pretty, I'm going to come up with, you know, I'll win 100,000. You know, you'd have to be an absolute idiot.
Jan, I think there was a very strong possibility you could have won if I had kept my moral centre instead of
me.
Bad blood. There's bad blood already. We have a beef.
I'm not bitter. I'm not.
Look. One of the reasons I blocked you was simply because you were at the bottom of the rankings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if I hadn't blocked you, and if I had blocked Elle, if on that occasion I blocked Elle and I'd given way, you probably would have been in the you would have been in that final. You
done her dirty, Tim. Done her dirty.
So I think you would have stood a chance of winning because you would have got those votes. You would have got the extra votes, I think.
Well, that would have actually flipped it on its head, wouldn't it? You know,
because
if I come in right, then you know.
Yeah, but you see, the point was I don't know what happened with that circle of doom scenario because. Instead of deciding which one of them was going to win, they all sort of seemed to go for each other at the end. So James, who set it all up, who did all the work, who really deserved to win, frankly, if it was a game of strategy, James was the one who should have won.
Yeah.
But I think instead, had he won because people were voting against each other rather than voting for somebody.
Right.
And yet. Yet Woody and myself were so blithely voting for people. and I'm sure...
You know, tactical... Everyone's doing it on this show, on season 3. They're all voting tactically. You know, even the celebrity one, they were all saying, oh, well, if I vote for that one, then that one, they're not going to like me because they're friends with them. And I never had that. I didn't have that game.
I never had that discussion in my head at any point, I don't think.
Yeah. Well,
I just thought, I like that one. I like that one. I don't like that one. Well, not you don't like, but you don't warm to them.
That's part of game evolution. You know, like when a game is presented on TV, such as like Survivor or The Circle or whatever, it starts out as one thing. Like on Survivor in the very, very beginning of the show, because now we're getting ready they're doing 41 right now. So they got 41 seasons. Over a span of 20 years, this television show has been on. It's been on TV. Yeah, so at the very
Which one were you on, Elaine? Which one were you on?
39.
39?
Yeah, season 39. So at the very beginning of, and Tim can tell you, which he's not seen the rest of them, but Tim's watched season 1. And in the very, very beginning, it was all about making connections and alliances. And you got an alliance and you wrote it out to the end. But the evolution of the game, it became where they found this too boring. So they decided to throw in twists. They threw in immunity idols and different things to make the game more interesting. And it became the game is so strategical now. It's like crazy. And when I played, it was the same thing. Like I wasn't such a strategic mind. I was just there for the adventure, the people, the bonds. Well, that's old school Survivor, technically. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like the evolution of Circle is taking on the same thing. It was about this when it started. Now it's evolving and becoming more about strategy and, you know, kind of similar to Big Brother. So it's just part of it, I think.
And it is about the winning, you know. I mean, I know you say you came from Kentucky.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, Kentucky.
So you got the Kentucky Derby. One of those horses has got to win.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Right.
And when you think about the way that people do have a strategy, I was given a notebook. This is what I find really funny because Tim, when I went to see Tim when I got blocked, I wanted to see Tim.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did. I went to see my friend. Anyway, I was given a notebook and I swear to you, I had one line in it because everyone else is writing all these copious notes.
Yeah.
When it came to the end, they wanted my notebook back. And I went, there's nothing in it.
What was your one line?
Yeah, what was the line?
I don't know. I know I had I know I'd written the list. No, I had another notebook because I wrote poetry and I read Tim a poem that I wrote when I was in hiding because they keep you in hiding. For me, it was 2.5 weeks, and I could only go out every 2 days for 2 hours with my chaperone. I felt like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. You know, it was like I wasn't being let out. If I went If I went up the steps, yeah, the bells, they made me deaf, you know. Yeah, but they, you know, I'd walk up the steps outside, and my chaperone would just like she was like the blooming, you know, a gazelle. She'd suddenly be up the stairs coming at me, going, "You can't be on your own. You can't be on your own." I'm thinking, I'm 58.
Yeah,
I'm 58.
Yeah.
Where do you think I'm going? You know,
Yeah.
I'm not running off anywhere. I've got no money. They took all my money. They took
Right.
everything. Well, I'm
That's
going to walk.
hilarious. That's
Oh, but,
hilarious.
you know, but you know, the whole thing. I wish that you know, I could write down all the things that happened in the background, because I think that the lead up to me going in there was probably more eventful than actually being in there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
know,
thought she was great. I thought she was great. I thought you done a fantastic job. What I seen of it, I didn't get to watch the entire season, but I did watch a few episodes with you in it, and I thought she was fantastic. But I always resonate with just good people, so I'm always pulling just for good, you know, in the soul, good people. And I thought I seen you as that. I thought you was kind. I just thought you was fantastic.
Well, that's very kind of you.
I've got a funny little story about as I went in, by the way, which I don't think I've ever told you, Jan, because they said to me, it was only about a day or so before the show, before we went into the show, they said, oh, you can, I think a week or so beforehand, they'd said you can select 2 books to go in. And then they said, oh, you can have any books. And I thought, ooh, now's the opportunity I can. So I went to my bookshelf and I thought, which Dickens book have I never actually read and I ought to read? And I can't remember which one it was now, but it was was the old Curiosity Shop or something? Anyway, it was one of those which I know I should have read. I never have. And I went into the circle, and I think I threw it away in the gym. But the copy I'd got was one of those nice old illustrated copies. I thought, you know, the reason I've not read this is because I've tried it once or twice, and I thought it was incredibly boring. And so maybe if I've got the illustrated edition, I might be distracted.
Look at the pictures.
Look at the pictures, because, you know, I'm a bear of very small brain. Anyway, they approved it, and it was sort of good 19th century edition. When I got in, they decided that it hadn't been. They couldn't find the copyright information or something, so they thought that it might be illegal. They thought that you know, they didn't have copyright permission to have this on camera. So they took it away from me and gave me a paperback edition without the illustrations. I thought, I'm damned if I'm reading this rubbish. So I was rather relieved a few days into the show. They came in and they gave me my original edition back. I thought, yum, 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 yum. Well, I only thought that for about a day or two, and when I started to read the turgid rubbish. And it's the only Dickens book. It's the only Dickens book that I've not read. And I've still not read it. The circle didn't encourage me.
I had a book. I did have a book. I had 5 paperbacks. What was funny was where we were in. I was in hiding. We were in the basement flat. The most beautiful, huge house on the outskirts of Manchester, in, you know, Northern England, where they film. And I can't tell the lady who owns the house why I'm there. And my chaperone. Really? No, we weren't allowed to say. You know, so every time they asked, you know, us, well, what? Because they knew that we were from a studio. Yeah,
right.
We in the end, apparently we were freelance videographers. Right now, if you know isn't
that normally a euphemism for making pornography?
Yeah, it could be, Tim. It could be. But if you knew my absolute, I'm useless around anything technical. I said to this that my I said to her, don't let her ask me if there's anything she's like stuck on, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Why did you have to say we were videographers? What, you know? Couldn't you just say I was your mum? You know?
Yeah.
Mind you, she was about 6 foot tall and I'm 5'4", so it might not have gone down very well. But it was really weird, because, you know, we're in this situation where I felt like a spy. I mean, I felt like Bond, James Bond, Jane Jones,
Jane Jones, yeah,
Jane
that's
Jones,
hilarious.
yeah. And but we weren't allowed,
How long you guys got to go? You're quarantined for like 2 weeks before you go in. Is that what?
No, I went straight in.
Oh,
no,
so
Tim went.
I think
No.
I think Alex's season was in quarantine for a day or two before they went in, but I think I went up to Manchester on a Friday or something, or on a Saturday, and we were live on the Sunday.
Yeah, see, Survivor, you go and you're there for like a week before you start the game. I was just curious.
Where did they film it, Elaine?
Fiji. You go to Fiji. Yeah, it was beautiful.
We got Manchester, Tim. We got Manchester.
It was still a foreign country to me. And it was lovely. I loved it. I loved it. I think I went up for a day about a week earlier to do the VTs at the beginning. And I think I went to the cinema and fell asleep in the cinema. So I made myself at home, and
you weren't watching the old Curiosity Shop, were you?
No, that wasn't the one. No, I don't remember what. Oh God, please! We've got to identify the Dickens thing before we get out. What the Dickens? And,
you're asking the wrong person. I haven't read not one book. I do pop-up books. I do pop-up books.
I like pop-up books enormously. I like pop-up books, and I like audio books, and I like books with pictures. Words. I'm really not very interested in that anymore. I think I've gone beyond that. I like film. I like
dot to dot.
Oh yeah, dot to dot.
Colouring in.
Oh, on the subject of Dot, what do you think of Scott?
I love him. He's probably one of my favorite. It's his personality. Like, he is hilarious to me. I love his personality. He's really good.
He's larger, kind of a larger than life, but he's your, what you would call your flamboyant, quintessentially young, talented actor, gay guy.
But he is an actor, isn't he? He is an actor.
Yeah.
And I think he does musicals. I think he's done not Rocky Horror. He's done the Addams Family musical. I think he did it on tour.
Yeah, I was.
I think he said he was Uncle Fester.
Yeah, Uncle Fester.
Oh, right. Yes.
I don't think he's doing so well in the game, though. I don't think everybody's buying that Dot is who he's trying to portray she is.
Well, partly because they've already had in our season they had Joyce.
Yeah.
And I think it's very hard. I think the two things which are really hard to do if you're going to catfish. Number one is to cross genders, and number two is to play a serious age difference.
Right.
So genders or generations, it's all a G thing. It's how far can you extend a piece of string? It's the G string. It. Yeah. How far can you get away?
You'll be the bacon slicer.
Well,
the images are just kind of keep coming, but you see, so I think playing an older woman, already Scott has got problems for himself. He's set out something which is really tough.
What you run into is kind of what you guys had on your season, where you played that game with like the Berlin Wall and John Lennon, the pictures.
Oh yeah.
You guys played that game, and it opened up a window. Like for you, Tim, you were asking questions about the 70s. And you had Joyce, who was played by the two younger people.
Oh, they were so gifted. Yeah. So gifted and so useless, really. But hilarious. I think that must have made hilarious television.
So you was asking questions that only people that was from that era would know.
Yeah.
And really digging in, and they were trying to dodge bullets left and right, like they was on the Matrix.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Were they really? Gosh.
They were struggling because, and then they like their answers. They gave pretty vague answers, but like basic common knowledge that a lot of people know instead of like if you actually lived it. And but I agree with you. I think the problem that Scott faces as Dorothy is those same issues. I think it becomes a problem if somebody goes in depth about. The good thing is the other old person is Saeed, who is also a catfish.
But he's in a much better position. Number one,
that's true.
He's played by a really talented actor as well, Hashu, and Number two, he's got experience of doing this sort of thing.
Right.
And he does prank calls and
Yeah.
and prank videos and stuff. Number three, he's playing the same gender.
Right.
He knows this person, or he knows this type of person. So he's and he's got a reason for playing it. Which I just think his reasoning is so good. So I think he can bring this to life. He knows this person. He knows this type of person.
Scott has used his nan, hasn't he? He's based Dot on his nan.
Yes, but he's got that gender problem, and he's always going to get into a problem with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
That's why I couldn't go. That's why I didn't go in as a catfish, because I've got a really lousy memory.
Well, see, that's me. It's like I wouldn't be able to keep up with the lies. It's like you got to be able to keep them straight and remember what you told so and such, and then the backstory you have to remember. It would be too much for me.
Well, I would have enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it. You know, to me, it would be like writing a novel, which I've done a few times, and I thought, you know, nothing publishable. But no.
But see, you're smart enough to pull. You would be smart enough to pull it off. Where I just don't believe in my capabilities.
I still think I would get into trouble. You know, the only people who can do this reliably are people like James Bond. You know, people who've been. So actually, this is another reason. This is another reason why I think Natalia is such a winner, because she has that military background.
Well, see, that's the thing. Is like she's played it so close to the vest, but still not. You know, it's basically her, but she's portraying a picture of a guy and a man that she finds, you know, thinks the other way.
Well, I think she knows Felix. I think Felix is someone she knows.
But she's basing it off herself, because she's in the army, and you know what I mean. She's all those things.
She understands all these things.
She doesn't have to make it up.
Exactly, and also I think she's the other thing I like about her so enormously, other than the fact that she speaks Russian, and I heard her speaking Russian. I thought, wow, that's real. Number one, and number two, I thought, you know, I've not been back to Russia for 2 years now, and my grasp on languages disappears by the day. Really, I think if I don't use them.
Can you speak it? Can you?
No, I could speak bits and pieces now. I'm, you know, it's
because you kind of look like you'd knock it out of the park. You know what I mean? Like no.
It just depends. It just depends what you're.
Yeah.
The Russians have a lovely expression. The Russians have a lovely expression for when they think, you know, the French talk about chacun son goût or whatever, or we do anyway. We use that expression, but the Russians would say chashka dili chai, stakan dili vodki. Some people like vodka, some people like tea, and I think it's all a matter of you know what what do you want? And number one, what do you want? And number two, how much do you practice? And I'm afraid I would love to keep languages going. I'd love to, but I have enough difficulty managing my own language where I am at any one time. So at the moment, I'm desperate to hang on to English, and I have to teach English every so often. And
you know what's great though is like talking to you guys. You know, English people. It's like it's another language. I don't understand half the stuff you guys are saying.
Yeah, but you understand the spirit of it all. You see.
Oh yeah, I do. And
Elaine, if I had that sort of, I would come over to America and I would do it like a native. You'll have me on a horse. You'll have me on a horse, whipping up the cattle.
Every time I've been in the States, they thought I was Australian. So I don't know. I mean, and I was trying to explain to them, no, not everybody sounds like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
You know, right there. You know.
No, but it does sound kind of
or Tommy
similar.
Steele, of course. Tommy Steele in the Happiest Millionaire. Oh, let it fall on Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday.
I would love to have an accent like that. I would love to have you guys be able to speak the language the way that you guys do. I just got a little old
Scrappers
redneck
lingo.
twang. Yeah, I got a little redneck twang.
But we love the twang. We love the twang.
Nothing wrong with a redneck twang
There
there,
you go.
Elaine. There you go.
There you go.
You see, you do it so much better than me.
No, but I agree with you. I think Natalie, who's playing Felix, I think she's got great footing in the game right now. And I think the Russian thing is super cool, and it shows a different level. You know, if you could speak several languages, then you got another level up here. You know?
The language thing, I think, is not about the languages you speak. The language thing is about the fact that your brain has suddenly been taught. Mm-hmm. So, for example, here I've got a phone. If I were in Greece, this isn't my phone. This is my kinito. And so suddenly, this has ceased to be an object which is defined by a single word phone. It's become a concept. Mm-hmm. And the more languages you've got, the more things become concepts and the more abstract. And so therefore, the quicker you are at identifying things, the quicker you are at sort of sensing catfish, because you're not restrained by the sort of monoglot obsession. And the other thing about language, I think, and I think one of the problems with the internet and certainly with reading texts is you tend to think that what is being written is what is being thought or what is being said. Yeah. And a lot of the times when we write things, we have such struggles or text correct gets in the way. We're not actually writing what we say.
No, and it loses a lot of translation.
It loses so much energy and coming out there. Then we can actually go even further. Even when I say something, I often say the wrong thing. I mean, I inevitably say the wrong thing, foot in mouth, and out it comes. And so really, you just want to look at somebody. You want to say, yes, this is what you're about to say, and you say, yeah, I was there. I was there before you. And if you can get to that spirit, like gazing at your cat and thinking, what are you thinking? And he will think to you and he will think back and you say, oh, really? And you have this deep conversation by looking in his eyes or her eyes. My female cat is much better at this than Bay ever was. But Bay is halfway there. Bay has a very limited vocabulary when it comes to eye contact, but he does have it. And we got big eye contact when we're in the circle. We've lost some of that now, but
you sound like you're describing some of the men in my life. Not a clue, and I'm looking into their eyes, and I'm trying to figure out what they're thinking.
Yeah,
right.
Do you know what I mean? What are you thinking when you're doing that?
Exactly.
What are you thinking?
Can I get into your other hemisphere? And if I can, then you don't need to articulate these things in words. And I found that the silence that. When I had it, which wasn't that often actually, but the silence of the apartments in the circle was just breathtakingly wonderful, because you suddenly have an option to navigate around the block of flats and to meet all these people in your mind and to have associations and sort of connections with them. And I did connect with quite a lot of people in a sort of super linguistic way. And some of that came over on screen, some of it didn't.
Maybe that's why you was influencer so many times. You had this crazy connection.
Well, we also
Yeah.
We also had conversations where it's the Doctor Who thing. You see, we also had conversations where
I'm sitting
you open your cupboard. Hello, it's me. You close your cupboard. I'm back in another room. Then no, it's I there is an element of telepathy involved in the way we converse with people. Now we can do it on the internet. It's sort of provided.
Do you think some of the players in there are kind of playing that kind of game, like trying to think next level like that? No, I think
I think a number of them might be trying to, but I think production is not having any of it. I think production is obsessed with structuring the game for them,
right?
And so there's no time for them to be themselves and for us to see their human qualities. We just get glimpses of it, and the moment we get a glimpse, bang, we're into another game, and it's exhausting.
So who do you think's in the most trouble right now?
Bill is out today, no question, because James is too clever to.
And I like
James
Billy.
is too clever not to succeed in that heinous job that Emma Willis gave. If I were Emma Willis, I wouldn't have taken that job. By the way, I just think Emma Willis is looking so dodgy. Smiling and saying, "This is you're now an assassin." Hello. I'm one of the Medici women. I'm one of the Borgia women. Lucrezia Borgia. My name is Lucrezia Borgia. Aren't I looking beautiful today? You're now my assassin. And I just think, why would you take that job to sit there and say that? I love the fact that she's there all the time. I love that image, and I love her little room. But I feel very, very uncomfortable with her being the voice of this malicious production.
Do you think it's malicious though, because they introduce so many twists that really is devastating to the games, and it's not like authentic?
I think when you're watching people who are crying, and you're watching people who are, the situation with Tally and the orange Tally. That is, you're in there, you're trying to be yourself, and then somebody else is trying to be you.
That was rough.
It's bad enough when you're in there. And I don't think people will really completely grasp that concept. I've read so many comments, people online saying that they think it was cruel. They think it's cruel to do that. They also think it's cruel to have the assassin. They also think it's cruel. Vision is opening up. I mean, someone actually said, is he for real? Because he said he would do anything to win. And is he just pulling on people's heartstrings?
No, it's real. It's real.
This is the thing, that if someone is genuinely in distress in that respect, no one would allow them to be in that position. If you care enough about it, production cares enough, you're not going to allow someone to sit there and be distressed, And
but I look at his body language often. He just looks sort of vulnerable, and for me, he is the heart of the program at the moment. And I just feel group hug. Poor Vithan. I also think that he's almost destined for the final table, as I think is Hashu. I was really, to go back to Emma Willis, I was really disturbed actually by the fact that James looked as if he could barely keep his eyes open. But you know, Jan, that the hours that we film, I have no idea why we film at those times, and I can't remember how I know exactly what the time is, but I do remember somebody, I think, had a weighing machine or something which bizarrely had the time on it, and so we sort of have evidence. But I routinely get, it doesn't matter what time I go to bed, I routinely get up at about 7. So when I was waking up, they wouldn't let me get up. So I would just lie in bed going through various Broadway musicals at top volume.
What time did you guys do most of your chats and stuff? Was it wee hours of the morning?
No, the chats were done during the day, or so almost any time. But the games were almost routinely done at night.
Huh.
Very late at night, and I think that was partly it's part of these R21 techniques to the stress factors to make you more vulnerable, more likely to do things that maybe you will regret.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I remember, Jan, when you came in, it was it was hideously late. We'd been working all day, and then suddenly, oh my goodness, now we got a new player entering. I think, a new player. I was just about to go to bed, and I was thinking, oh God, now we've got to go through all this stuff.
Can you imagine how I was feeling, because I didn't know if I was staying or I was going.
Yeah.
And after we had that blue and red egg, didn't we then have a party of some sort?
Yeah, Tim, your dance moves are legendary. I said your dance moves at the party where y'all was dancing. Oh, my God.
Elaine, I'm somebody who, if I've got a job to finish by tomorrow, I will sit up for 48 hours if I have to.
Right.
But I will bitch about it after. But but I'm,
Yeah.
you know,
you'll get it done.
I will keep going. I'm sure eventually Natalia and I will have a conversation about, you know, military discipline. I can do that because I was a monk. You know, it's one of the things you learn as a monk, how to stay awake. I couldn't stay awake during a lot of religious services, but then I found a solution to that as well. Do you want to know my solution?
Sure.
Go on.
It's go to the back of the church.
Okay.
Close
And
your
kneel behind everybody else, and then all you've got are the strange noises that occasionally come out of the people in front of you. But otherwise, otherwise, it's an ideal position.
Snoring.
That's not
snoring at the back.
It's not snoring. I wish it were snoring, but it's similar volume and reverberation, but not snoring. I think I was the one who was likely to be snoring.
Well, Natalia, she's so calm, isn't she?
Well,
she's just so calm.
This is the lovely thing about her, and this is why I think she's got winner written all over her, because she is a beacon of serenity in a block of flats which is just so whipped up into a frenzy. When you go back to the celebrity circle, everybody there, they're all professionals. They know how to be calm in front of a camera, and they know that calmness. You set your bedrock calmness, and then you can throw in your moments of surprise once people have got sort of used to this. This is the norm. and what we've got here is, because they're being so energized all the time by production, they're all over the place. They're leaping around. You mentioned a gazelle earlier. It's like having an entire menagerie in the block of flats, and it's exhausting. My days going to the zoo, I think, are past. And or even if you go to the zoo, you at least want to see one animal who's fairly quiet. I mean, the reptile house is quite pleasant for that sort of thing. But I don't see Natalia in the reptile house. I see her as a rather.
Couldn't find it.
Chameleon.
No, I think of her as one of the residents of a very nice aviary. But she's one of those animals that's sort of sitting there and doesn't seem to move, and then you walk away, and then she's done something dramatic. I think she's absolutely wonderful. But the point is, she's understood serenity, and she also effortlessly moves between the characters, moves between the character of Felix and moves back into the character of herself. And I feel that for all his energy, for all his training as an actor, Scott doesn't quite do that. It's too there's too much effort really going between the two characters, and it's almost as if there's somebody saying to him, which there probably is, "Why do you think that? Why?" And then he's explaining, and I think it feels to me as if Natalia's already got that one mastered. And what's interesting is she's not a professional actor.
Right.
But then mostly when you're a professional actor, you don't explain what you're doing. You just do it. Yeah. And I remember having problems with production. So I'm going off on one here. I remember I'll finish this and then I'll finish this and then I'll pass the buck. But I remember going off on one with production because production wanted to know why had I decided that Jay was his mother. And I couldn't explain. Mm-hmm. This is the problem. And I tried to say, well, the conclusion always comes first. And that wasn't good enough for them because it doesn't sort of follow.
Right.
Jan, take over, Jan. Take over.
Me? Oh, hello.
Hello.
God blimey, mate. I'm in the picture now, ain't I?
You are.
No, do you know what? I was just thinking that I love Said because I grew up in Ilford in Essex, which is like a very, very cosmopolitan area. And there's a lot of most of my friends when I was at school were Indian Asian and male. And I used to meet their mums and dads. And the character side, it is so good because it's real. One thing. I mean, I know when he's speaking. They don't say,
he's
well,
exactly like people we know.
I'm wanting to know this.
Yes.
And
it's the continuous present. Yep.
Yeah, it is, and it's just delightful. And you have to be in the know to get that right. That's why it's working for him, because all of them they're not thinking, well, hang on a minute, it just seems a little bit, keeps doing it, but it's the way he is. That's the way. An elderly.
It's consistent. It's a very, very good trope to do with text.
I love it.
But what I love is how he sort of picks up on things, and his little aphorisms as well. And he loves
Manika. Is it Manika?
Yeah.
Yes.
He loves her so much.
Yeah.
Manrika.
Oh, he's all over her like a rash. Every time she's on the screen, he'd lick the screen. He just loves her, and it's
she's
just so
a firecracker. She's a firecracker, Manrika.
When she was flirting with Felix. Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's a firecracker.
Well, I think that has more time to play. Actually, I think I think if I got any criticism of Natalia's approach, it would be that I think she's done the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's we've never seen that work comfortably. So it happened in our series. It happened in the series in America. It happened in Alex's series, and it always leaves an uncomfortable moment. And of course, it's the moment that occurs. So it actually didn't really happen very much in my series, but I was the thing with Sammy, and I was supposed to sort of go in and have that confrontation at the end. Oh, you're not Sammy. Well, I knew that, so they weren't going to get very much out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you've invested this relationship thing, that confrontation, which is that final table meeting, it will be Manrika and Natalia. And Natalia will be sitting there. Manrika will come in and is, who are you? Yeah. I'm Felix. And it would be, no. Probably some expressions that Paddy would use at that point. And,
I don't think the flirting game works.
No, nor do I.
Because everybody knows it's BS. You can't possibly meet somebody and then, like, if you go back to the American version, when we was talking with Shuby last week, when Rebecca went on a date which we'll talk with Adam/Alex coming up. But whenever they went on a date, quote unquote date, and Rebecca was saying all the, you have got my heart just going crazy. Like, Alex knew that it was BS. I just don't think the flirting thing works.
But you feel alone, and you feel sort of stranded in this strange universe. And it doesn't matter how many, it doesn't matter how much production is there. You feel a little bit isolated, number one. Right. You've also got people whispering in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, I think you go along with a lot of this. Right. Also, it's a story which is constructed to make sense, and it's not only constructed to make sense, I think, to the viewer. It's constructed to make sense to you, the participant.
Right.
And from a sort of Stanislavski point of view, I lived in various places in Moscow, but one of the places I lived, which I was really proud of, was just down a little street, in a house that used to be inhabited by a wonderful poet called Sergei Sienin, who married Isadora Duncan, the lady who got strangled by a scarf. And unfortunately, that marriage didn't work very well because neither of them could speak the same language. Also, Sienin was gay, so that it wasn't going to go very far.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, it was a little bit like putting two people together in the circle and seeing if that works. In theory, maybe. In practice, no. But anyway, I would then walk down that street, and then there was a long road, and at one end of the road, there was a statue of a composer beginning with P. Can't remember what his name was. Prokofiev. Yeah, Prokofiev. One end of the road was Prokofiev, and he's sort of marching, and it's rather wonderful. And at the other end of the road is a statue of Chekhov, and in the middle is the Moscow Arts Theatre, the place where Stanislavski sort of developed the Stanislavski method. And I think in the circle, that's what we were. We were inhabiting a character, whether that character was Tim or whether that character was a catfish character. It doesn't matter. We're still inhabiting a character, and you start to believe your character.
Right.
And after a month of playing this character day on day, you become Felix, you become Chris or whatever. And I thought Yolanda did a wonderful job as Tally too.
She did. She did a good job.
I hated the game. I hated the game with a passion, but I loved the energy of the players.
I thought she done better at Tally than she did at Chris.
She did much better at Tally than she did at Chris. Absolutely. Yeah. There's something about, you know, this is why a good producer is so essential, because there's something about a good producer. The producer looks at you and they know what you will do best. And you often don't know. You often have this sort of strange, perverted idea of, I see myself as...
I was an egg.
And you have
they saw my body. Elaine, they saw my body and went, you could be an egg.
they saw potential, Jan.
They saw something.
Yeah, I'm called.
I think it might have been a yolk.
I'm called the busted can of biscuits. So if it was me, they'd probably put biscuits on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, because of my body type.
But Elaine, didn't you feel that there was a point at which you became? I think I've asked you this question before, and you said you were just you. But didn't you feel that you become a sort of heightened version of you because production? You're aware that production is watching.
Well, you know, I sometimes I dumb things down and pretend to be, you know, not the sharpest crayon. You know what I mean? And so I would heighten that. You know, not because of production's insistence or anything, but because it went over well with the group. And so they always thought I was super hilarious and easygoing and stuff. So I just kept playing with that.
Also, of course, a little bit of sort of the occasional question mark really helps to sort of convince people to talk to you. Mm-hmm. You know,
yeah, I would always be like, you know, I don't understand kind of way.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And then explain, I don't get it. Like,
yeah. And of course that means you're the person who always gets on air because you're asking the production question that they need. You know, it's a very useful technique. I think stupidity is a greatly undervalued virtue when it comes to presentation. As a teacher,
listen, I'm rolling in it over here. I am rolling in that stupidity. I'm rolling in it.
Well, I can get lost on my own staircase. So you know, when it comes to practical reality. Mm-hmm. I am utterly hopeless. I can be halfway through doing something and then forget what I'm doing. And I've managed to do this really all my life. So it's not a senior moment.
Jan, right now. Oh, we're on a podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm like the dog. You know when you're running and then they go squirrel. You know, that's me.
Well, we're back to the idea of us as performing poodles. Now, look, there's another theme I wanted to bring up because we've only got about another 10 minutes, and we ought to be tidy about when we start and when we finish with these things. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was the idea of cyberbullying.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because we certainly here in the UK, we've got this great campaign against cyberbullying, but it seems to me, well, you know what I'm going to say. Why don't I just leave it to you two?
What? No, you was on such a roll, Tim. You should finish.
I'm always on a roll. I have to get off my roll. But it just seems to me that, that here's a program which is celebrating cyberbullying and in fact encouraging it.
Well, whenever you allow people to make comments anonymously, I think they could be daring and say whatever it is they want to say without ever having any repercussions for it. And that is actually the definition of it, ain't it? That's the definition of cyberbullying. It's you can be behind your keyboard and nobody's ever got to know who you are, what you are, whatever. And I don't like it when that happens. I don't think it should be something that should be a part of it. But I don't think anybody took it too far on the show itself. But on a whole, like in the whole wide world, we should all do our part to like squash that, because that's some bullshit as far as I'm concerned. So,
well, I mean, there's plenty of people who've been on the receiving end of cyberbullying, and I had somebody must have been about probably 5 years ago. I knew them, so they weren't anonymous to me, but I questioned something that he posted on Facebook, and it was to do with a female. It was a picture of a female, buttons undone at the front, showing a bit of cleavage, a lot of cleavage. And the meme was about, maybe if she hadn't showed so much cleavage, she'd end up with a guy who didn't just want her for sex.
Oh.
And I thought it was really, really ironic that the guy who put that up, all his pictures on his own profile were half naked with his tattoos out. He was a bodybuilder. He was fighting. He was in this aggressive stance all the time. And all I said was, do you think that, the pictures that you put up of yourself, and if you're applying that rule, do you think that you attract the wrong kind of women? And I swear to God, I wasn't prepared for the onslaught
of hate.
I was every name under the sun, and all the women, it was the women. And well, I tell you what, they kissed their children with those mouths.
Really?
They were absolutely coming. They were gunning for me.
Wow.
And I just put, I rest my case.
Right.
And I saw this guy. I was going to a film premiere of a film that I did a background work in. And I saw this guy, and I thought he was, when you see someone, you think, oh, and absolutely, it was like, it didn't feature. He never said a word. Said a word. And I wasn't going to talk about it because I thought, but cyberbullying, you don't have to be anonymous. You can be exactly who you are, and you can come at somebody. You can have most opposing views. Yeah. And you can, if you're really that political, or you don't believe in this or you don't believe in that. The minute you get someone on a raw nerve, they'll come at you. It's like it's the night of the long knives, No, I don't think we'll ever stop it. We will never stop it as long as we won't stop it.
Yeah, I don't think we'll stop it by being. By sort of stamping it out or by being aggressive to it. We actually need to change people's attitudes. So I love the fact you mentioned the political thing, because to me, the fact that one's got friends with a completely sort of wide-ranging and completely contradictory range of political beliefs, that seems to me to be a blessing. I don't want my friends to have the same beliefs as me. Otherwise, why would I want to open my mouth and say anything? And I think we've got to a point where people think they are defined by what they say or what they record, and I can change my mind very quickly. I can say something quite different tomorrow, and will. And believe it as passionately as I believe it today. This is partly, in fact, I can hold two completely conflicting views at the same time. It's something that I think I learned to do when I was at university, and I'm very proud of it. I think that's the sort of spirit we need to encourage, and within that, the spirit of kindness. That's what I was
getting ready to say. I think it boils down to kindness and respect and a little bit of compassion. I think that people are entitled to feel however they want to feel, whether you agree with it or not. You know, the political thing, whatever. There should be differences of opinions, because if we were all the same, look how boring the world would be. You know what I mean? It would be horrible.
It would be horrible.
But you have to be willing to accept other people's differences, or their difference of opinions, or just different in general, straight, gay, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, if there was more compassion to other people and more respect, and be like, all right, you're this, I'm that, it's cool. Like, we would be a lot better off in this world. Let's see, I got to read this. What's it?
This is from a person called Cody. It seems to me that people in the public eye, such as yourselves, are particularly targeted. It's as if people disregard the fact that, despite the fact that they know you from TV, you're a real person.
Yeah. That's a true story. Like, for my season caught a lot of flack. And, you know, there was people that took cyberbullying to another level to come at a lot of people on my season. And, you know, people called me names, you know, they called me fat, you know, and it's like, but I come from a place of love and a place of understanding. And I get that there are people out there that what's it called when you bounce it off yourself and put it onto somebody else? I think there's a lot of there's a lot of insecure people in this world, and they feel better by putting other people down. And, like, coming from a place of compassion and caring, I just think, man, I feel so bad for them. You know, even though they're talking trash about me, I feel bad for them, because how terrible would it be to be that way all the time? Just be so cynical and mean and cruel. So I'm okay. You know what I mean? Call me whatever you needed. Want. You know?
You needed me with you, because they wouldn't have been calling you fat. If I was there with a bikini on, you'd have been fine, babe.
Well, the shirt can be deceiving. Nah, but, like, you can say whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to hurt my feelings. Yeah, and so I look at it through different lenses. I just the whole hating people just for whatever.
I don't get it.
I don't understand.
And I've never understood it. You know, I've never understood bigotry. I don't understand. Don't get it. You know, I've got a lot of gay friends. I've got a lot of, you know, black friends. I've had Asian friends in my life, and I never quite understood, because I wasn't raised in an environment where anyone hated. My parents never hated anyone. You know, their own best friends one was South African, the other was black Jamaican. You know, they didn't see that there was any difference. They respected the color, or they respected the you know, the traditions, the cultures, and whatever. But they never ever. I wasn't raised in that, so I don't understand nasty. I don't get nasty.
I don't get
it
either.
I must say, from that point of view, I'm really proud of the casting in this year's season 3. Yeah. But there's one person we've not really spoken about.
Go on.
And that's Billy. Come on, let's have a few minutes. Let's have a few minutes. Let's have a few minutes of Billy, because
I do too.
My prediction is that Billy's probably going to go today or tomorrow, which is a shame. But
I love laughing.
Yeah,
he comes from my part of the world. He comes from he comes from Romford in Essex, and I was born and bred in Ilford.
Freddie. What wasn't? Isn't Freddie from down there as well?
Yeah. So we're both Essex, and I've reached out to him and said, you know, I'm here if you need me. He doesn't need me, but you know what? It's just like saying hello. Yeah. I'm watching you, and I think you're brilliant. But I get that. Young. I get that Essex humour. I get that Essex banter. Yeah. And I wished I would have loved to have been in the apartment with him, because I would have been laughing. You know, when he gets that microwave meal, what is he like? He's never cooked for himself in his life. You know?
No wonder he's so skinny. He can't eat. You know what I mean? Like, he can't cook. He can't eat. That's why he's so skinny. I love Billy.
Elaine, always find the manuals. Get the manuals out. That's why I'm this size.
Well, I think that him being young, I think I don't want to say it hurt him, but I think, like, maybe his naivety, like, is kind of bit him in the butt a little bit, especially like where Gemma is so coming at him so hard, and she feels like he's the weakest and I can get him out of the group. And I think it's because of his age and stuff like that. I feel bad for him. I feel bad that this is landing in his lap. I feel horrible.
I think it was a hot. I think if that twist had not occurred, Billy could have gone all the way because he was growing with the program, and that was rather. Mm-hmm. It's been rather lovely to watch. And I may be wrong. It may be Gemma who goes tonight or tomorrow. But my prediction is that Gemma will go. Is that Billy will go, and then Gemma will pay that price.
Well, now if you think about it, though, everybody has difference of opinion or how they're playing the game or whatever. But it's like whenever they were voting for blue tally, orange tally, and Viffen was like, I could go about this strategically and get rid of, did he say blue tally? But anyway, he was saying I can do it this way, or I can play it straight up in how I feel and get rid of this one. So I think that if they would really be strategic about it, Gemma would go. Because if you look at the conversations that have happened over the course of the season so far, Billy, it's just Billy's Billy. Whereas like there's been conversations that people's had with Gemma when they're like,
but they don't
suspect. Yeah. She's strong, like I don't know.
But they don't know. They don't know that Gemma is on this mission. This is the point.
No, they don't know. Yeah. But I think whenever he first hollered at, was it Andy said, he kind of sussed it out. He was like, I feel like this is kind of prepping us. You know what I mean? Like
the other thing that worries me about this sort of gameplay and setting up this sort of all these twists is, you can be very clever and introduce all these nasty twists, but there's a limit to how many you can invent. Mm-hmm. And so when you come back to the next season, I hope there's not another season like this. If this is the way that the game is supposed to be played, I hope it finishes here. But and I'm ashamed to have been involved with this, with what this has turned into. Deeply ashamed. But the next people who play, they're going to say, "Oh, well, we know this twist," and they're going to be there. But then that's sort of Survivor, isn't it, Elaine?
Well, that's the thing. It's like once you take it here, you know what I mean? You're always going to have to raise the bar. And it's like if you go from 1 to 10, which I feel like this season has done, I feel like it's went 1 to 10. Like how high can you go? Like you're saying, Tim, like how many different changes and twists and you know what I mean? Like how do you keep reinventing the show? Because that's basically what they're doing.
Do you think there's a possibility that that this show could continue in the States and not continue in the UK? Do you think the States has is more tolerant of this sort of show because of Survivor?
Oh yeah, we love the lie, cheating, stealing, backstabbing. We love all that dirty stuff.
Well, you have it in Washington.
It's like we deal with that on a regular basis just in our government alone. It's like give us more. We're one of those that love the blood. I think.
Well, look, You've only got to look at the Jerry Springer show. I mean, that was something which was completely alien to us here in England. That came over here, and you've got these staged fights. They come out with their weaves on. No disrespect, didn't matter what colour. Everyone has a weave. This is mine, by the way. It's my own hair. But they come out, they take the shoes off, they start pulling. They've got boobs hanging out. And I remember watching it and just thinking how much lower can they get with this? Was this girl's foster mother, and she ended up having a relationship with her foster daughter.
Well, when that show started, though, it was more real, but as it stayed on, the faker and faker it became, and oddly enough, my wife actually had family go on that show.
No,
she didn't. Oh no.
What happened to them?
I don't. We was actually talking about it the other day. It was a made up story, but they were from up in. This is the thing. It's like they pay you money, they put you up. So that's why you would have people that would be willing to do that. Is because they're going to give you money. So if you're from up in the holler. And you ain't got a nickel in your name, and they're like, "Hey, we'll pay you a couple $1,000. We'll pay you."
You're gonna fly there, baby.
They're like, hell yeah, we're going on vacation, honey. Get the kids, let's go.
Get a cagoule.
So the thing is, though, is like when it first started, it was real, but because they became so raunchy, and they had to up the ante every time. That it got to a point where people's like, all right, finally, it's like you're only short of like having to murder somebody on stage. You know, you can't go up anymore. So they hit a ceiling, and then it was the downfall of the show. So I do believe. I do believe that you can jump too fast and introduce things too quickly. And I think that's what's happened with the circle. See, Survivor's been on for 20 years. So we went, like I said in the beginning, you went from strategic, sticking to alliances. I mean, 100,000% to super strategic. But it's done it so over a course of 20 years, which I think that's it's appropriate. Where you guys you're 3 seasons in. You know what I mean? You're 3 seasons in. So like, it's like, yo, you're throwing too much in the pot at one time. It's like, just make it simple. You know what I'm saying? Just, I don't know.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple. Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the trouble is, once you get this sort of the baying crowd and they want the blood, this is why, I mean, we don't have Jeremy Kyle on the TV anymore, because of the way that things happen and evolved, and someone took their life because they saw it as being, we're going back to the nature of being on TV and the way that people can be perceived. Right. And Jerry Springer, he brought that over here. He had that. Jeremy Kyle took parts of that and ran with it. And I just think, no, you get back to let's be nice. There's nothing wrong with being nice. Nice isn't boring. Nice is good.
Yeah.
Well, if you're funny, and you're
Right.
entertaining, nice is good. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be.
Yeah, you don't have to be. I think the world's become desensitized though, which is a huge problem. Because then it's like you don't care what you say to others. You don't care how you make someone feel. You don't care if you politics, racism. You don't care. You just put it all out there. You know what I mean? Like, and we really are a desensitized race of people, of human beings. You know what I mean? So it's
I
like,
will always care about my words and my actions against other people. I will always care. That's why I am who I am, and people know that they can be with me. I would never, if I hurt someone else, I may as well hurt myself 100,000 times over, because I can't be the person. And I know Tim's the same. I know we talk at length. If you lose sight of the fact that your actions and your words can deeply wound somebody, then you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
You never come back from that, because nobody's ever going to come near. No one's going to trust you ever again. No one's going to want to be near you because you're spiteful.
Right.
And we're nice people.
Good people. We good people.
Yeah. It's very difficult to get over. It's very difficult to get over that sort of deceit. And that sort of betrayal. Again, this is why I just adore Yolanda for going to see Tally. But anyway, look, we're going to stop it here. And Jan, thank you enormously. And now, Elaine, where do we find you? Look, if we want to find you?
Tim, I spelled my name right this time. You see it?
You have. Look, and I was blamed for this mistake the other day, by the way.
Yeah. Well, what happens is we start talking, and I'm like, oh, I should fix that, and then Tim will say something. And then 20 minutes later, I completely forget what I was thinking about. So I did fix my name. You can find me at Elaine Stott 32 on Instagram or Twitter. You holler at me, I'll holler at you. I love talking to the fans. Give me a shout out.
And
love you loads. It's great talking to you.
Where can we find you? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram. I think I'm under Mama Bear. Mama Bear. I think there's a drag artist called Mama Bear as well. So I'm not the one with the big eyelashes. But I can't remember. I actually can't remember because I don't use it that often. But you can find me on there. You can find me, Jan Jones.
Jan Jones. You'll find her.
There we are. And you can find me on Professor_Tim_Wilson on Instagram, and a variant of that on Twitter. And look, we will be back, I hope, on Sunday when we're going to be talking to Alex, or is it Adam? I cannot remember.
Yeah, Alex Lake.
I get so confused. Alex Lake, the wonderful man with the myriad pajamas and
cats. And he's got cats.
And cats.
Oh, it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a doozy. Talk about
and
cats.
Lots of interest in things that I'm really excited by. He's an animation aficionado. So we're hoping to have Alex this coming Sunday. So we look forward to having you all back then. So have a good day and go and watch the rest of season 3. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Love you. Mwah. Bye.